This is TWiT.
I am talking to Laura Weidman Powers. Laura spent some time working in the White House, working as a senior advisor to the CTO under the Obama administration. She also founded Code2040, and we are talking about diversity, specifically Black and Latinx workers, engineers in the workforce. So there's a lot of evidence. I mean, I'm sure you have the evidence. You've talked about a little bit about it before, that this is financially beneficial to companies. But still, some companies aren't doing anything. What are some of the reasons companies aren't moving forward or going about this the wrong way?
Yeah. So I think part of what it comes down to is that it's really hard to do well, and it's hard in a specific way. Companies often try to tack diversity and inclusion on to their existing operations. So let's keep going, keep everything full speed ahead as normal, and let's glom on this diversity and inclusion function. Sometimes you see that because there's a head of diversity and inclusion who is usually under-resourced and in a standalone department without decision-making authority. But it feels and looks good to have that person kind of on your Teams page. It shows up in other ways as well. Sometimes there's no leader actually takes accountability, and you see a really junior level person who's sort of advocating and agitating, but again, doesn't have the authority to actually make change. If a company is really serious about diversity and inclusion, then it actually entails rethinking the approaches used for some of the fundamental functions. So you can't recruit in the same way and then have a diversity recruiting function on the side. You can't hire in the same way, use the same interview strategy and process and questions and expect a different result. You can't actually manage in the same way and perhaps continue to not train or under-resource managers and let them kind of rely on their gut and figure it out as they go. You can't do that if you want to actually retain diverse talent. You have to rethink kind of what your company actually values and how that's baked into decision making, and what it looks like to run representative and inclusive decision making processes internally and for your product. And so what a lot of companies, I think, get wrong off the bat is thinking okay, everything else stays the same, and then I've allocated this bit of budget off to the side and we'll add on a D&I function. And it doesn't work that way. And for some companies, that's a deal breaker. They don't actually want to revisit the way that they've been doing business, which for a lot of companies kind of up to a point has gotten them to be very successful. And there's a ton of management literature about if you continue doing the thing that got you to point A, chances are that's not actually what's going to get your company to point B or point C. And I think the best CEOs know that. And they apply that when it comes to their core product or core business and how they think about R&D and their vision for their company. But they don't apply that to a talent philosophy or talent strategy. As much as CEOs say talent is critical, talent is everything. If you think about it, HR usually doesn't have a really vaulted place in the organization. Usually that's kind of considered a lesser function, a support function, a background function, as opposed to a function that's really driving the ability for the company to succeed. And so it really requires a fundamentally different mindset about what is the purpose of talent in your organization and what is the responsibility that your talent org has, and how does inclusion fit into that, and then how does that influence all of the other functions of the organization as well. And I will say the thing that I don't know if optimistic is the right word, but that I find sort of comforting about the state of a lot of companies not being willing to change or to actually do what I'm describing, is I actually don't believe those companies will be around in 5 to 10 years. I think, 2040, going back to kind of the name of the organization, it's the start of the decade when people of color will be the majority in the US. That's kind of an abstract demographic concept, sure, but that's our consumer base. That's our workforce. So if companies are not able to successfully make the transition to figuring out how to attract, vet, retain, promote diverse candidates from all backgrounds, particularly from Black and Latinx backgrounds, I don't think they're going to survive. There just isn't going to be the talent out there. And everything that is sort of a diversity and inclusion strategy or a multicultural marketing strategy or all of that is sort of an add-on today is going to be the core of businesses in the future. Companies that make that leap will survive. Companies that don't will die off. And new companies with that type of inclusion baked into their founding will take their place.